Good morning, welcome to OG Foundation, capital of the sovereign state of Lodium. I am your host, Sovereign Non of Lodium, and in the last day of the last video, which is the spring special on the channel, I painted the MollyStarkTower in here white, and now the plan is to go over the white. I'm just going to use what I have. This is a classic me kind of plan, wherein it's a mystery. These are all old products, probably like 5 to 10 years old. I don't even know if some of them are already dried out. This is like a light blue and a purple and a purple and a blue and a white and some old latex paint additive something. And basically, I'm gonna mix all these together, making a mystery color, and then I'm gonna spray it on the roof. I don't even know if these are the right kinds of paints or if they're compatible with each other. I don't know anything. But I do know that I have them and I want to use them, and so hopefully this doesn't end in a disaster, but it's possible very soon when I actually open them, I'll find out that it's not such a great plan. I already know it's not like, well, no, it is the best plan for sure. And so I'm going to mix them all up in this bucket, and hopefully a good color comes out, and then hopefully it's a good composition and I can spray it, and then we'll get some color over this white. And ideally that'll be a finish. We'll see how it goes. Here's the first one. It's like a baby eggshell blue, and it's really thin, but it's going in. The thin layer was just on top. Underneath there was a thick sludge because it's all not mixed very well. But I'm gonna do lots of stirring. Yellow number 2 seems to be a pretty rich purple. I thought it was a lot lighter based off of what's on the outside. And both of these first paint cans, they were so rusted, I had to basically rip the can off, or the lid off. And I think I got both of them from Home Depot, like their waste paint area, where like people had returned it or it was no good or something like that. So I think I paid like $5 a gallon for these or something. So into the mix. Paint number 3, also a pretty deep royal purple. Alright, so here's the rest of the ingredients. This is supposed to be a white, but it's like totally separated, but I'm still going to put it in. This is some kind of blue. They're all obviously separated because it's been like 10 years and no stirring. And then this is some kind of additive. I don't know, it's like a latex paint additive. So anyways, we're going to pour all that in. All together it should be 3 gallons, and it should be able to... And I'm also cleaning out the paint things with the water with the spray gun. And then I'm adding that too, so it's like thinning it, and so a bunch of unknowns. We'll see how it all goes. I gotta get these in and then start mixing. So I've mixed it pretty thoroughly. It's kind of hard to see with the orange bucket, but it's like a light purple, the color of the western mountains on the western shore of Lake Vermont, in the mountains of what other people would call, anyways, the enemy of Vermont, the historic enemy of Vermont that we got independence from. But yeah, the West Vermont mountains, not the Green Mountains, but the other colored mountains. Anyways, so I just got to fix some of the stuff that fell down, and then I'll start spraying, maybe just a little more mixing. Believe it or not, at one point I thought I was going to mix this by hand with a wooden thing. Then I remember I have a brain. Alright, getting to it. Check it out. All done. It's like a light blue, kind of purpley gray. I actually feel like it's kind of like my eye color, but I don't think it actually is. It just seems like a nice, steely kind of blue. And so that was a lot of work, and I got coverage on everything that had white pretty much, and then more, because one important lesson that was reiterated to me from this experience is to not follow directions and to water down the paint when you're painting concrete, because when I was cleaning like running water, or kind of like cleaning, so it was like a super watery mix, I sprayed all of that on the wall down here, And like all of this, it's I don't know how well you can see the color, but it's not super thick, and it was like watery, but the way that it kind of was absorbed by the cement, and it left no like black marks underneath. So ideally you should like water it down a lot and then do like twice as many coats, because the concrete absorbs the water so much. But all this stuff down here pretty much was all just from cleaning out the paint gun afterwards. So I used every last bit of material, and then after the first empty of the paint gun, then cleaning the lines with extra water, I sprayed all that on the floor here, so there's like a little extra color. But I'm exhausted. I got everything done in the tunnel, all through here, all up there. It is a lot better than before. It's not like a strong color. It's like a little bit purple kind of, but I really like it. And so I'm gonna take a break, eat some food, and then I'll come back and take down all of the stuff over the windows and whatnot. Finish cleaning everything up. I got an initial clean, but I gotta do a full clean of the paint machine. And then I've got a little bit left of this paint to kind of touch up in areas that I couldn't get with the paint gun, but I got all the way behind that couch and all the way back there, and I don't know, maybe it's just hard to tell the color on the screen because I feel like it's on my glasses. Another lesson I learned is not to use the respirator, because I can't wear my glasses with the respirator. And so I didn't wear the respirator this time, and I wore glasses, and I smoked while I did it, all of which combined to a much more peaceful, less stressful application. Because when I can't see, and then I've got that thing on my face, and like overheating and everything, it's just like I just want to get over with it. But when my glasses are on, I can really see where the spots I missed, and so I went through, I had like a paintbrush as I went to kind of spread it out, and I just feel like I did such a better job on this second coat as far as getting it real even. I even went over the places I wasn't thinking I was going to go over, like there. But I'm really happy with the result, and I basically spent, I think, $10 on paint and just recycled all this old stuff, and I think it was just like a perfect kind of outcome. Not too like pink or purple, but bright enough. And yep, that's all for now. Wasabi started his wilderness challenge. Yep, there he is. Morning, Wasabi. Last night I put him out in the shed. It looks like he's staying over here. You good boy. Here you go. Over here with the calving moomers. Alright, you good boy, Wasabi. Hey, good boy. Hang out with the moomers. Get some mommy energy in ya. See you later, buddy. So because I found this wood stain amidst that old paint, I'm going to use this to stain the platform up here instead of doing that sugi bond and trying to haul the propane tank and everything up here. And see how it goes. So that's how it turned out. At first I was skeptical, but came around, and now I really like it. And I think it provides good contrast with the purple walls. And then I didn't want to stop. I wanted to finish the whole quart of stain that I had. So I stained the steps here, and I stained this area over here, and it's still a mess in here. And I stained this whole area underneath there, and finished up the quart of paint. So that's how it turned out. I'm really happy with it, and it's a good use of 3-4 hours of work and that old stain that I paid nothing for. I really like how it turned out. So lunchtime, and we're on to something else after. Monday morning, the 13th. It's starting to get warmer weather, but I'm still having a fire going in this nice wood stove to make it nice and warm in here and to get rid of some of the burnable waste. And one thing I've done today is prep this area, which you can see is like right above the stove and below this platform here. So I've kind of dug it out a little, leveled it, and then I put the concrete or mortar type debris and dust and stuff underneath. There's holes underneath, 3 holes, and I packed them with the waste mortar debris from above. The idea being that it packs it nice and solid, but it also provides drainage if there's any like water above or whatever. So there shouldn't be, but anyways, just seemed like a good solid thing. And then I pounded a bunch of rocks in. And so I'm gonna end up pouring concrete in this area so it's not exposed dirt and you don't have cats using it as a kitty litter. And then once it's kind of like cleaned up, so I gotta prep by spraying like water around here, spraying the rocks with water. And then once it's like a cement surface, it'll be easy to clean, and you can put pillows in there and like lay up above the fire. Just need a kind of like a light in there. And I cleaned up down here. I got the wood in the wood storage space like it's supposed to be. Chopped up one fat log. And the other thing I want to do today is finish these stairs. So I got to finish prepping that step. And then I think I'll just add a little bit maybe to this stair over here in the corner. So I don't know, this step is pretty much done. I got a little bit of the watery paint when I was cleaning it out, and I'm happy with that. And then the one other thing I'm working on today is getting the shower drain going. You can see the purpley blue color, maybe a little bit better in this lighting. And so I'm going to clean up the shower here. And so this is the shower drain, and it's kind of rough in there, and then it's going to be kind of tricky to mortar around it without that thing leaking. But hopefully I can accomplish that task. So I just got to add some lath to that hole right there, and then I'll mortar around this conduit as well to get it nice and solid in there. And that will be it for the shower. Well, I got to clean out the rest of the stuff and then get it all to drain, make sure it's all sloped properly. But that's the first step in a multi-step process. The mortar things always go kind of slow. And then if I can today, I'll get to more of the 12-volt wiring to put a couple LED light strips in here and stuff. But generally I just cleaned it up a lot. I think this is going to come out. I think I have like a bureau thing that can go there. I just need to get a hand from my brother from another mother to move it over there. And just cleaning up and removing things up here and getting closer and closer to the top part being done. So just incremental progress in different areas. So after one little mini batch of mortar, close up those holes, and I'll have to do more after that, but probably not for till at least tomorrow. And then do a little more on this chimney. There were some vertical holes in the lath around where this stainless steel wire intersects it to stabilize the chimney in the middle there. So got a first coat on that, and then this will just need at least one more coat on it, but that's all for the mortar for right now. So this evening I got all the lighting done up here, or at least 3 of them. So this does the auto light for the stairwell, and then this one does the light above the bed. I'll show you that in a second. And then this one does the light right here, which wraps around to there. So for this kind of front area, if you're not upstairs, you'll use these ones, the running lights. And if you're done down here and you're gonna go upstairs, then you've got the light all up here and all off of the dome, nice soft light. So that's the main lighting for up here. So lighting on these all complete. I'll probably have to figure out at least some kind of 12-volt downstairs, but I haven't figured that out yet. But that's about the extent of it today, unless I'm going to get into some curtain rods, but that's probably about it for today. You can see the grass is just starting to come up. Oh, hey, you sweet boy. The boys are shedding their hair. The horsies are excited. And in the next week, I think we're gonna have a lot more green than this. It's a nice warm one, and everything's gonna start shooting up. Hey, what are you doing, hon? Oh, you kisses. You sweet boys. So fast. What is hon doing over there? What are you doing? I see you. What are you doing, hon? Woo! Oh boy, it looks like someone has dethroned Dino. He's all bloody. And he looks like he's been cucked. Either probably by Butterscotch or Lance. Lance, young guy there. That's quite a surprise. With the weather warming, this is the boys' first day in the outdoor pen. So I've got a bunch of branches that I just cleaned out of there, got to burn. And then I might bring them some willow growth so they can eat the bark off the willow. And the chickens are all out, and it's spring weather. It's Wednesday morning, and the task today is plumbing. Yesterday evening, I got this sink basically plumbed to drain. That's not really how you're supposed to do traps, but it's a lot more heavy duty than how you're supposed to do it. And then, well, there's not even a trap there, or I don't know the exact phraseology. But anyways, there's like a trap over there for the vapors, and then it goes out. Though, I had some difficulty in the end, so hopefully it doesn't leak, but to be able to test it, I gotta hook up water. So I've got a water line coming in. This is all rainwater, not drinking water, so it's fine to just use this tubing. So I gotta figure out how to connect this 1/2-inch tubing to these water things. And if I can figure that out, then I can test if this, whatever you call it, faucet leaks at all. And then I can test the drain. And hopefully I can figure all that out today. But I might need some more fittings. We'll see. So it's Wednesday evening, and plumbing has been a nightmare. But after 4 trips to town and many failures, I've got it hooked up. I'm going to try water for the first time right now. Air coming out, looking promising. Sounds like water. So there's water. Not very good water pressure, but there's water. Now let's see if it's leaking. The problem spot is this one right here. That pipe right there was the hard one to get in. Wasn't lined up quite right, and anyways, I'm not seeing any leaks right now. Though the water pressure is pretty bad, but there is in fact water. So there's, I call it a success. See how this wand does. Oh yeah, really good water pressure from the wand. But anyways, and so anyways, success. We got plumbing all to the kitchen, just a little bit of air bleeding, and the water pressure will be better, but that is a big relief to figure all that out. And I was able to clean the sink. Looks nice. End of the day Wednesday. Now I got AC power downstairs as well. And I basically re-ran the whole extension cord so it goes straight to the battery bank room, the same battery bank that the 12-volt system is monitoring. And this is where I spliced that extension cord in with another one. So from the one extension cord, it now has 2 plugs, one down here and the one upstairs, and it splices inside like this, so it's never going to get wet, nice and safe. And then this extension cord here has enough room where it'll come up for the counter that I'm going to build. And so now, and then I ran the line as much as I could for the hot water without connecting it on either end, but the line's basically mostly in. And so now the 2 big projects I have in front of me are burning and sealing the 2x platform deck floor here, and then either before or after that doing the custom countertop. I still don't know what material I'm going to use for this countertop though. I'm kind of on the edge of using some old recycled material or going and buying a new material, so I'm not quite sure about that yet. But that's it for today. Plumbing success, and electrical progress as well. Savi's doing well through his first day. All out well. The boys came over here with me to check on him. I threw him some grain, but he's not coming too fast. The boys are eating the little bit I put in that tub. But Savi figured it out. Oh, I scared him. You're on the ground, you silly. There you go. Alright, come on, boys. Time to leave Wasabi. Come on, boys, this way. Thursday morning, and I got hopefully everything I need for the custom countertop. Got some gold and silver spray paint, and some buckets and mixing things, and 2 of these 3/4 inch MDX boards, which will be the primary material for the countertop. So we'll see how it goes. First cut complete. It doesn't help that I'm like on a hill doing this, but this will be one part of it. And then it's like this thing, and then it angles that way, so then I'll need to piece it together with the other half, and then I'll like overlap the MDX to strengthen the joint. All right, so this is roughly the shape that I want the countertop. So I've got it in 2 pieces. There's a cut right here, and I've got a little reinforcement here, but I can't reinforce the tip because there's this cabinet door that has to swing out and doesn't leave enough room. Maybe I could do a metal type strip on the bottom. But I'm pretty happy with the shape. I'm probably going to round out some of the edges a bit. And then this is all just using 1 sheet. And then I gotta come over with the second sheet and have it start on this side so it overlaps that, the break there. And then the idea is that on top, and then when I do this side over here, and whatever the break is over here, the idea is that I'll be able to fill it and you won't really be able to see. And this one hole that ended up in the back, you shouldn't be able to see that either because it'll be in the back. And so yeah, that's like the shape of the countertop. And now I gotta get the second piece on there, and then once the second piece is on, I can kind of glue it and screw it all together, and then start working on the edges and filling the gaps and stuff like that before I prime it. So it's Thursday afternoon. I just got this piece cut for the second layer. There's a couple places where it's not like adjoining perfectly, but I'll figure that out, and after I take a lunch break, I'll get into gluing and screwing the 2 layers together. And then once I do that, I can work on the edges and make sure that the top and bottom are the same, and then start kind of sanding down the edges and getting it all ready for the primer coat. And this is how much material I have left. It's a pretty good amount. I was actually thinking about like tripling it up instead of making 2 layers, which I might even have enough material to do, but if I do, I will investigate after lunch break. So I did decide to go with 3 layers, so it'll be 2 1/4 inches thick plus any kind of gaps in there. So this is how this one lays out. So I'm gonna have to piece together some pieces there. So I'm putting this one on second, where I'm about to do put wood glue all over it, and then start screwing this one into the first layer. All right, there's layer 2. You can see I'm using a lot of scrap panel. And now I'm gonna put the 3rd layer on. I got glue and screws, sanded over the screw holes, and just cleaned it up. And here's number 3. Okay, putting on the last piece of level number 3. Okay, so that's the top layer. It's actually 3 pieces, 2 big ones and this little triangle in the background. And it's hard to kind of over screw it because you want to make sure this thing doesn't move at all once the epoxy's on there, because that would make it crack. Some of the edges are still not all lined up, and so now I'm going to go around and cut all the edges together with the circular saw, and maybe do a little bit on the corners with the jigsaw. And once I can get it all pretty consistent with itself, then I can start sanding. So by the end of the day on Thursday, I've got an initial sand on all of it. I did my best to fill all of the cracks on the top and the rough points on the sides with wood glue. And so tomorrow, as long as there's not any big holes remaining that I need to fill with wood glue, all I'll need to do is sand it one more time to sand down the wood glue I just applied, and then I can start with the primer. So I'm really happy with how it all turned out. And it's nice and long and funky shaped, and it's thick. Thicker than, I couldn't make it any thicker because that's as thick as my circular saw can cut. And the last one I made was only 2 thick. This one's 3 thick. And once it all comes together, this will look like one solid countertop. And hopefully I can do a good job with the paint and everything. I might be able to do that tomorrow. I think the primer is kind of fast acting, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. That's all for today. Check out the light show. Got front row seats. It was way better than fireworks. I don't even get why people like fireworks. Thunderstorms is where it's at. It's like so awesome. Powerful. Keeps you humble. Fireworks are the opposite. It's like, ooh, ah. The thunderstorm's like, whoa. The kitties grovel and everyone's awed by the power. Okay, back to countertops. Wasabi met his fate last night, likely amidst the storm. It seems he drowned somehow. He was abandoned at birth and near death, and I saved him last year and raised him in an incubator, and he didn't really have much chicken family, but despite all that, he grew up strong and rose up above Vanguard and Arthur in the pecking order, and had a good short life. And well wishes, rest in peace, Wasabi. And his body's going to be left out here as an offering to the local carnivores and omnivores at the head of the waters in this land. So it's Friday morning after laying Wasabi to rest. I did some more sanding, and there were some areas that still needed more wood glue. And then I made like some wood glue putty by using sawdust and wood glue to try to clean up like this corner that was really rough. And right here there's a saw mark in the bottom edge. And basically just working to get the whole face of this thing completely seamless and smooth, because that's what produces the effect in the end of it being a big slab. So I don't think I'll be able to prime today because the wood glue, I'm pretty sure, needs 24 hours. Though I'm going to start a fire, and maybe if it cures kind of quickly this evening I could do the first primer coat. So for the afternoon I put primer on it. I probably rushed the glue a little bit, and you can see like the sanding isn't perfect, but I think it's all good enough because the epoxy, there should be like a base opaque epoxy layer that will cover up the screw holes and hopefully a lot of the kind of inconsistencies in height. But I'm not expert at this, and I'm doing it different than, I've only done it once, and I'm going to do it a bit different than that time. So we'll, it's totally unknown how this will go. But one of the tricky things is I can't get the back, because this is where I need to do the epoxy work, because this is like the only level space I have. But I can't get like the back of it very well. So that's the one thing I got to figure out pretty soon. So I wanted to prime underneath it as well. So I picked it up and just got 2 coats underneath so that if there's like drips off the side of the counter, it doesn't go directly to the MDX or HDX, whatever the stuff is called, that will absorb the water. That'll give it some protection. And then over here, I ended up with this piece of plywood from, I'm not sure where, but I'm going to make a shelf of it up there. So I'm putting the primer on that plywood shelf thing as well. And I should probably use up all of the primer between the two. And I managed to get the back 2 coats, so now I'm going to, just a minute, I'm going to bring this back down. I'll get 1 more coat on the back, and then I'll get the final coats on the top and front, and I think it needs like 2-3 hours before I can do any epoxy. I might do the first layer of epoxy tonight. We'll see. Oh no, disaster. When I stood it up like that, it cracked the stuff, so I guess I'll sand that and reprime it. Okay, fully primed and ready for some epoxy, or, well, it has to dry before epoxy, but the primer's done. I used every little last bit of it, got a second coat on that, and then this is the last, like, sizable scrap of the stuff that I have, and so I put a little primer on that too, just because I had it, and I'll probably make that into a shelf as well. So I think it needs 2 hours. It's nice and warm in here because of the fire, but I think there's just enough time to put my first coat of epoxy on here, but we will see. So I just helped deliver a calf, where the cow and calf probably would have died otherwise. And now I'm ready for a first coat of epoxy on the counter. And this is my epoxy kit from Stone Coat Countertops. This is the second time I ordered from them. It'll be the first time I'm using their dye. There's black, white, and red opaque, and then there's a red translucent. And then these are like glitter, kind of. White metallic, that's like another kind of, just 4 kinds of glitter. And they're chopping brushes, the mixer, and different containers. And then I've got silver and gold spray paint as well, and some propane to hook up when I do the thicker one, though I think the first coat is going to be really thin. I shouldn't need any propane. What I do need to get is plastic gloves to apply it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. We'll see how the first one goes. I think we're going with red. Check it out. This is after the first round of epoxy. There's black, red, and some gold type stuff. Looks like a big mess. Big mess. And so now I'm going to add a second batch. I was thinking I was just going to do a first coat, and mostly I was trying to cover up the screw holes. You can still see a number of the screw holes, which was probably partially a problem of, while the primer had dried everywhere in the screw holes, there were still like wet things, so probably a problem with haste. But anyways, I'm going to add a little more detail, see how it goes. Alright, I'm calling it quits for today. I did a bunch of things. Who knows if it was a good idea. Then I sprayed vinegar on it. Probably not a good idea. But it is something. It's certainly something. And I only used a quarter of the epoxy that I have. So this is like a base coat, and I can maybe make it less messy adding on top, or who knows what the heck I'll do tomorrow. But this is going to be it for today. At the very least, I think I covered most of the screw holes and the crack between the panels, and made it messy enough, and hopefully not too messy, and a lot of it will probably change overnight. You can see some detail in some of it. There's some gold in this one, and some silver there, some metallic, and then some funky white and black, and yeah, we'll see what happens, what it's like tomorrow. I think this corner is my favorite, with like the black and then the light on the inside, and then over here I think a lot of these messy areas I'll probably end up covering up with the more opaque on top or something. But anyways, that was fun. I don't know if you can see on the camera the effects of the heat gun, but it pops little bubbles basically, and it can also help to move it. And it looks pretty static, but it's all still basically liquid. Oh, there's one screw hole you can see. I'll get that tomorrow. Anyways, just wanted to show I came back here and here, started a fire, and now I'm hitting it with the heat gun to pop bubbles. Arthur here, he's got both of his feet broken. He can barely do much of anything. But I'm going to give him a little while to try to heal before his survival challenge. And after Arthur and Dino have their wilderness experiences, they'll just be Butterscotch, Lance, and Vangare, and that'll be a much better number of roosters, 3, for when the chicks come in a couple weeks. But Arthur's hanging in there, but it's not easy for him. Check it out in the light. I still see a few bubbles, and oh, but that red and gold. I was questioning about this one red because it's like an off-color red, but the gold came out really nice in it. And same with the silver. Last time I made one of these, I did the bubble popping with a torch, and the torch really messed up the metallic things if I didn't do it right. So now that I have the heat gun does it a lot better and doesn't potentially kind of burn the metallic stuff. So I'm going to do the next coat. I'm thinking the next coat is going to be like a translucent red. And but I might add another opaque coat over some of the areas. Basically, I got to cover up at least one screw hole or search to see if there's any other screw holes I missed. And then I basically want to cover up the areas I don't like while keeping the areas I do like. And then do the translucent coat over all of it. But just generally, it looks really cool and a lot better now than yesterday. So yeah, get to it. So I counted 6 screw holes I can still see. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do one more big batch of epoxy. I'm gonna use the rest of this quart or gallon or whatever, the half of all the epoxy I have. I guess I'm just only going to use half of it. And well, I might change that plan, but anyways, I'm going to do a little bit with the red and metallic silver. I'm going to do a little bit with a black and white sparkle dust, whatever. I'm going to use the black to cover the screw holes, and then I'm going to do the red to highlight some things, and then all of the rest I'm going to do a translucent red, and that will be to cover everything, to go over everything, and to kind of even out the height of it all. So I'll use the black and the red to do some final touches in different places, and next cut should be the finished product. So I'm unmistakably making it more messy, though I was able to use the opaque to cover up a lot of stuff, even though it infringed on a little bit of the stuff that I like. But now is the make or break moment where I'm going to do the top translucent layer, which is going to maybe cause a lot of bleeding, the stuff bleeding together, and I wish I could wait, but I've already mixed it, so I got to apply it, and we'll just see what happens. Oh no, it's a complete disaster. I didn't realize, I thought there was more workability time in this. This thing is completely solid. I can't even use it, it's complete waste. That was like $80 of epoxy, completely wasted. Well, good to know. And it was in the sun, just so stupid. Hopefully I didn't waste all my dye and my glitter. But maybe I can wait longer on that. I don't know, what a disaster. Well, that's a rough lesson. I basically spent so much time working the 2 opaque layers, basically like finger painting, that I lost at least a quart of epoxy. Luckily, I have those 2 epoxies, and I think that my dye and glitter didn't get any epoxy on it, so I think it'll be okay to sit here for a minute. And so the consequence of my mistake will be that I'll let this sit for a while to set as it is for a bit before I put the translucent layer over the top, which will be good because it'll mean there will be less bleeding from like the black that I added, which would kind of mess up the opaque and can mess up some of the other things. And so hopefully the end result will be better, even though I've wasted a lot of epoxy. So while I'm waiting for this to cure a bit, I did a batch of concrete. This used to be open, so I gotta clean up that drain, but I put a drain in there and closed up the lath that was there, working on these stairs. And then these stairs, poured in the last bits of those. And then in this landing thing, I put the rest of the concrete mesh there, so there's just a bit left to finish that up. So I think I'm going to, again, I just poured vinegar on this, which was probably, again, a bad choice. It's supposed to kind of like help them to like meld together, but anyways, I'm going, so I open the windows, hopefully they'll dry out faster. I'm gonna eat and then pour the next batch. I've just been making sure that the remaining dye that I have doesn't dry out, and hopefully it all works out. We'll see how it turns out. This is either gonna work out great or it's gonna be a total disaster. I have no idea. Alright, well, here's how it turned out. I really don't know what to think. It's way different. I didn't expect, I thought that top coat would be way more translucent, but that's what I got. It ends up being kind of like a, whoa, almost backed off the platform. And then it has like little pieces of the not dried epoxy kind of like sticking up in places. I was trying to pick it out, but it's like all over the place. You can see like the reflection of the little bumps. So I guess all that will just get sanded out, and that might change the look as well as any sanding will kind of reveal the lower layer more. So I guess the sanding stage will be important in this. But it takes like a whole week, I think, to cure before you can even sand it. So, I don't know. But it's very interesting. I guess I'm going to try to pick out a few more of these bumps as much as I can while it's still wet. And I got like one coat on this and this. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm making a mess everywhere. But, I mean, I think it's a good, I like it. I like how it is. And it kind of has like a stone effect, because you can like, it might be hard to see in the camera, but you can sort of see through the translucentness into like patterns below, though a lot of the detail of the patterns below are lost. So like I said, the sanding will be a big thing in this. Oh wait, I gotta do something over there. That's really bad. So I think I'm done. I'll have to heat gun it at some point, but you don't want to do it too soon. You gotta wait till everything like sets up before doing that, because otherwise you'll just get more drips. Yeah, boy, that was really something. It's like an emotional roller coaster doing this. And well, I mean, it's still not done because it'll have to get sanded, and it's gonna be a long process. But the epoxy application, as far as I can tell, is complete. So for the form for this concrete step, I just had a cinder block and then put a piece of cardboard on it so the concrete doesn't bond with the cinder block. And that's pretty good. And then there's the far step. And there's some foam and stuff. I'll pick all that out. And so this also makes a great seat for sitting by the fire. So it's Sunday morning, the next morning, and I'm coming to check on the counter, see how much it's changed since yesterday, because the epoxy changes, and see if there's any big issues. There was a really bad screw hole over here, so I put some black ink over that. But it's behind that PVC, so it's okay. The feel of it, it's not even sticky anymore. There's something weird going on right here. I don't know what that is. That last, like, purple that I put on has like little holes that came up through where it was bubbling, so that's giving a little bit of color and stuff. Man, I really like this. It took me a while because I got so used to the other one, but I really like it. And once I sand it, it's gonna be even better. But it's just like, oh, so good. This is a multiple $1,000 custom countertop to add to the $250,000 MollyStarkTower. But those are just silly valuations I just use to relate to the audience, because really both are priceless. Neither are for sale. When I was younger, I always thought, what does it mean to be priceless? It didn't make any sense, because the value system is based off of money, so everything's got to have a dollar price. And what does priceless mean? It's infinitely priced? But that's kind of the reality when you can't actually buy something. It doesn't matter what price you can offer. You can't buy a sovereign state. You can create one, put your life on the line, put a lot of effort into it, but there's not one that you can buy. Oh, there's a little country in the east of the Mediterranean that might say, no, you can buy America. It's for sale. It's just the price of it. Anyways, who knows? But you can't buy this one. You can kill a man and take it, but you can't buy it. It's priceless. Oh, I just like it so much, and it's just got a few bumps in it. But those, I'll wait some good time before I sand that out. And next project is the floor. So I've got to clean up all of these drip things. I'll mount these shelves now. Here's how this one turned out. I put a little bit of black in it for, I don't know, depth or something, complexion. So I got a lot of cleaning to do in here, and then I'm going to have quite a bit of sanding to do in here. This is not sticky enough so that now I can sand and the sawdust isn't going to contaminate it, because it's actually just pretty solid. It's not even, there's a slight chance that I might have to add like a top coat to it, which might protect it even more after I sand it, but I'll wait and do some research and see about that. But pretty much I'm done with that, and today is going to be cleaning. It's a rainy day. Cleaning, sanding, and then I might get on to burning of the wood, and we'll see how long that takes, because supposedly the tung oil that is going to seal this wood takes like a whole week or something. But I'm super stoked that the countertop is done, and it turned out way cooler than I actually really anticipated. I really like it. So that's all. I'm currently burning the floor. It's a art form, and I'm new to it. But let me just show you something interesting. I just figured out this. Well, I've got these little propane torches, and then I've got a big one, and I just figured this out. Alright, done with the burning of the wood for today. Got this table up on the counter. Finished this corner table and that one, and I'm more than halfway through with this one. So I'll just have some burning tomorrow, and then I'll get on to the tung oil. So I realized last night that the video I made with the torch had like cut out, so I lost it. But basically I was just trying to say that at first I was using the torch like this to blacken the wood. And you can see how slow it is. Even if I like turn it up a bit, it's pretty slow. And then I realized later in the day about the handle. And how awesome and satisfying this is. Then I said something about how I feel like I've been missing fire for my entire carpentry experience, which is not extensive, but the fire is just so satisfying. And then I think I said something about how it shows the oil in the wood, because if you try not to burn the hose while I'm at it. Like around the knots, if you like, the knot doesn't char because it has oil in it, and then if you like cook a knot directly, you'll see the oil bubble out of it. So the reason there's the burn pattern in the grains is because of the oil in the wood, and then the realization that the element of oil is the same as the element of wood. Then I was doing some research about the difference between sap and oil, and why some trees have more sap and other trees more resin. Anyways, I was disappointed that that whole video was lost. So anyways, that's what I've done now. I wanted to put a little protection around this chimney. I've got the tung oil in a water bath. I've got a fire going on in here. So it should be basically all ready for the tung oil to start applying now. I have this wire brush to kind of brush the charcoal off of the wood, which kind of evens out the burn pattern and removes the sootiness. So I think I prepped like the two shelves there and maybe like part of the corner and part of that bench. And basically I'm just about ready to start the tung oil and then apply it to all of this stuff. And we'll see how that goes, how long it takes, if I need more than one coat. It's my first time doing all of this, so fascinating and super fun to use the torch. So here's a little comparison with and without tung oil on the first coat. And this is still wet, so I'm sure it'll look different when it's dry, but just the difference in color is pretty wild. So it's afternoon on Monday. I've gotten through the first quart of the tung oil. You can kind of see the edge there of where I've got compared to where I haven't got. And right there, I didn't do any of the siding there yet. But you can really kind of see the progress of one quart. I got that and then all of that. Doing the ends of them takes the most. The flat boards, you can get a lot more coverage, but the ends really soak it in. And yeah, I gotta take a quick break and then I'll get on to quart number 2. Look at this one board right here. I feel like this one is the exemplar. How you can, oh man, I got audio in the background. But how you can just see the grain of it so good. And then this one over here, these two right here are really good as well. Some of them are overburnt, but it's just so cool how the tung oil works together with the burning, and it like picks up the loose charcoal and like dissolves it and like spreads it out. And so you can see how some are better than others and how there's some hot spots and other things which aren't so good. But yep, that's that. Hopefully the audio in the background didn't mess up my thing. Alright, so I'm up in the top level, the MollyStarkTower. And I sugi bond this little thingamajigger, shelf, whatnot. Honestly, well, you could like sit up there, and I was thinking at one point you could have like a little desk there, but it's pretty, I don't know. But I did that, and it's pretty clean up here. We're getting pretty close to being done up top. And then coming down the stairs, this whole landing and all of that is done. And then on, I didn't get all the siding on this, but then the front door here, I did this as well. Didn't do the top yet, but just gonna bust it out the side real quick, or the lower part of the siding. Then over here, I did a little more messing around with the torch, starting to clear this area, this bedrock area, from this column over to that rock wall, where I'm gonna build a ferro cement wall and stuff on the bedrock. So over here, where I had this kind of brush wall and this recycled bent cattle fence, I was burning all of the brush, all the dry stuff over here, and exposing more of this bedrock here, which is just like, just walking on it, it just feels so solid. I love it. And so you can see kind of the line of this bedrock here where the wall is basically gonna go. In the next month, certainly, maybe next episode, because that'll be the first one of the season. Maybe I gotta get into some sort of ferro cement in the next episode. But a full day of sugi bond and playing with my new propane torch, and just about done for today. Might just apply a little bit more. I almost got through all of my tung oil. I've got a little bit left over to hit some places that I might have missed. And there's also this tire pillar here. This is all pounded, and I kept that dry. And then there's that tire pillar there, which it almost seems like I should arch from one pillar to the other. Doesn't that seem like a good idea? The turkeys just agreed. Did you hear that? The turkey said, yeah, that's a great idea. So if I've got one arch going from up there to here, and then I had another arch going from here to there, then I could connect the arches and make a dome. And then the dome could be the gatehouse for the drawbridge over the new water feature, where there will be a swimming pool, and then you can jump down from the crown of Molly 25-30 feet into the water feature. and the drawbridge. Yeah, that's all for now. Look at this, it's a first. The boys are in the horse pasture, and Zara here is being friendly. Being friendly, the boys getting some salt. Being friendly with Zara. It's a good day of tongue oil today. Grazing with the goats and picked up the shower. Tomorrow I'll hook up the hot water shower, God willing. Tuesday morning, hopefully there was less frost last night. First project for today is to extend the, or like do a mini slab thing here. So I want to get rid of the whole dirt floor in this first level, but I'm going to do it piece by piece. So this one will go up to the hearth there and fill in this area. Just got a cinder block and some cardboard for the form. Hopefully it doesn't collapse on this side. And gonna mix up some concrete, pour it in there. Hopefully I'll have enough left over to fill up that little spot up there as well. So that is a mix of 3 buckets of stone, 2 buckets of sand, and a half a bag of Portland, mixed with about 0.5% calcium nitrate to speed up the curing. So I ended up adding a half dozen 2-feet pieces of cattle panel from a broken old bent cattle panel. Cut those up and put them in there so it has some steel reinforcement. There didn't end up being enough to do that, but there was basically just enough to almost make it level with the original hearth, and it looks pretty flat. I don't know, I didn't put a level on it or anything, but it seems good enough for me. And that's it for now. Next project is the shower basin over here. So I just cleaned up some of the debris. There's still some loose, or like partially, it's hardened, but it's not fully bonded with the floor. Some like pieces of mortar. So I got to come through with a hammer and bang away as much of that as possible. Then I got to put mortar in here, make sure it's sloped properly. Then I've got these old ceramic tiles, which came out of my grandma's garage, my grandma who passed. And I think they were actually originally from my dad, who also passed, but like 40 years ago, he had bought them, and they ended up in my grandma's garage. So I've got more of those. I'm going to try to do at least the floor with them and see how that goes. All right, so most of 1 bag of mortar, so probably about $6, and some old tiles. And hopefully that is sloped correctly and everything. I'll just wipe the tiles off in a little bit after I eat some food. And yeah, that's how that went. Wednesday morning, just checked on Arthur, and no movement from Arthur. It looks like he passed away last night. He was having a hard time, but I was keeping him alive and trying to take care of him. But I'm gonna end up bringing him out to where I left Wasabi. So for the last 6 months, every night, I would put Arthur and Wasabi into the coop. I'd pick them up and put them into the coop so they wouldn't sound off early in the morning in the Citadel, but outside the coop, because the coop's sound insulated. So that was kind of my last chore every night, picking up Arthur and Wasabi. And now I've put them both down for the final time. The offering of Wasabi was already accepted by nature. You can see the feathers, and now Arthur is in his offering place as well. I'm glad they both were able to reach natural deaths. They had good lives, and their souls are off for the next, or their souls are birthed into a loving family, and well, who knows where they'll go, what they'll do next. Rest in peace, Arthur. Here's how this little slab turned out. Just smoothed up the corner a little bit. It'll take another day at least to harden enough to walk on, but I'm happy with that. And then I'll show you the shower. So after I cleaned up the tiles, that's how the shower looks. I still haven't tried pouring water on to make sure that it all drains, but I think it'll be all good. I got the grout and everything all done in one coat. And I like having that little incline thing to clean up the transition to that kind of higher ground in the planing there. So yeah, that's it for that. And I'll be on to another project for today. I'm not quite sure what yet. So first project today is to finish this area in here, put another little slab in so that the dirt floor is all closed up for the entryway. But first I'll have to dig a couple buckets of dirt out to make room right by the door here. And then I'm going to have it go right underneath the door jamb or whatever. Hopefully I can make that work well. So I took out 5.5 buckets of dirt, put in about a bucket of mortar debris that I had taken out from above. And there's 1-inch insulation closest to the door, and then there's this thin like solar panel stuff over there, which altogether should prevent or at least limit heaving so that there's less likely to be cracks. And then I've got some old cattle panel cut up. I've got a little more to add here to give it a little reinforcement. Oh, and it's also helped to keep it dry because the wetness of it absorbing moisture is what will expedite corroding of metal. And time to mix concrete. So I put 4 buckets of stone in that one, and it's a good thing I did because otherwise there wouldn't have been enough material. And 2 heaping things of sand. So it's pretty good. I'm gonna just take a break and then I can come back and do some finish kind of troweling. It ends up being about a 1/2 inch between this one and that one, but that's fine. That's not really like a traffic area. That's just the space between kind of this area, which will be more trafficked, and then that area, which is purely for like hearth activity, and would probably be better for splitting wood on. If you had to like split some wood into smaller kindling, it would be better to do it there, which is a little bit thicker than here. So it'll be good to have a kind of line of distinction between the two. But that's it for right now. It's Wednesday evening. I spent the afternoon plumbing. This is the hot water setup I got. And I'll just put a shower curtain up here. Burned and stained this little thing and hooked it up like this. This will be the first test to see if it actually works. Alright, much better water pressure in the sink. I'm waiting for it to get hot, seeing how long it takes to get hot, and see what the best setting is for this thing. It started off with such good water pressure. It must again have air in the line. Anyways, so I might have to bleed a line somewhere or troubleshoot a bit of air in the line. But the shower is now officially working. It's all tiled, and then basically it's got this on off right here, and then yeah, that's that. Just waiting for it to get hot. So while I've got water coming out of the shower and it's draining well, the pressure is not good enough. So I'll have to maybe mess around with some fittings or turn up the pressure on the pressure tank, because we are about 15-20 feet up, and that vertical rise might be making the difference in it getting the necessary water flow up here. And because there's not enough water flow, it's not engaging the on-demand heater, so it's not hot water. But this is the hot water line, so I've got to figure that out. It's Thursday evening, and as my concrete slabs are curing, and my tung oil is curing, and my countertop is curing, I am cladding the outside with these recycled pieces of particle board, siding stuff. It's going kind of slowly because I'm working with scraps and because the original framing isn't conventional, and I've got to cut foam back and add foam to places to make it nice and tight. So I did all that this morning, and the foam that I added before break is all cured, so I'm going to go and cut the foam. I capture all the foam that I cut, and then I pack it back in, like part of what I did up top and on the sides was packing in the foam that I cut on the lower areas, so that I use every last bit of foam. So I'll cut the foam and then keep adding more of that, and I've got some also scrap ice and water, which I think I'll end up using for the seams. but won't get to that today. But ideally I'll be able to finish at least the front of this today. It was slow going, but good use of materials. So by Thursday evening, I got pretty much all of it done, except for a few strange pieces around that arch and cutting that triangle off. And then, so tomorrow's the last day of this preseason before the official start of season 13. And I'll see about getting this side and then getting the inside all kind of cleaned up and give you a final shot of how everything will wrap up for this episode, or preseason episode. Alright, so I just finished sanding. What do you think? Better or worse? I definitely made some mistakes, especially on the edges. But, yeah, real marbled effect, huh? I was kind of scared about sanding, but it's looking pretty good. I'm just kidding, I still have to wipe it down, all the dust and stuff. Hold on, 1 second. Alright, so here it is, wiped down. The top looks good. It has less of the sharp bumps, but it still has kind of like remnants of those bumps. So I think what I'll do, and then because this was my biggest mistake right here, yikes, that was a sanding error, both from not sanding enough in the prep and then sanding too much in the end, trying to fix what I didn't do in the first stage. So I am gonna have to do another coat of epoxy. It's gonna be a clear coat, and then I'll try to cover up the damage I did on the side. Maybe there's a little bit over here with some black paint. I think I have a little bit, maybe a few drips of black paint left, and that should be good enough to cover up that mistake right there. And then you can kind of see like these little bumps around there, and the clear coat will help to remove the height discrepancy between the base and the bumps. But before I do that, I'm going to sand down those bumps just a little bit more. And then I think the top clear coat will give it that nice gloss again. Whereas now it's a little more of a matte type finish. So this will just be 2 more steps, or sanding, then cleaning, and then applying 1 more coat. This coat should go pretty easily, so I'm not worried about it, and I should be able to fix that. The main thing I'm concerned about is getting drips on my new tung oiled floor, so got to make sure. And I burned most of the cardboard I was using to protect it before, so that'll be my big concern when I actually get to the epoxy layer. So a little bit more sanding before getting into the epoxy again. Alright, so here's the final pour. I couldn't help myself. I had a little bit of translucent red and some gold metallic left, so I put that in. I've got a little bit left over to add the black dye to touch up the problem spots. And here is the pour. And basically, ooh, that's very shiny. I have this tool. So this is going to cover everything. And I have this tool here to help me spread it all out. So, and then I got a brush to kind of like brush it in. So they got to get full coverage on this, and then I'll give you a final shot. Alright, so here's the end result. It's kind of like every layer I do makes it a whole new countertop. Largely because I'm not being smart about how much dye to put in the epoxy, because I'm new to this and I'm overestimating how much dye to put in. So I gave the edge kind of a bit darker than I wanted, but still it's all good. And the top is somewhat consistent, but it has kind of like veins of metallic in the red. So most all of like the first like 3 layers I did is basically kind of lost, but you can see through a little bit in some of the areas. You can still see the detail underneath. And learning lesson, which is basically just repeated, is use less dye, especially if you're wanting to use a clear coat. Then you should probably not use any. But anyways, I'm still happy with it. I've basically been happy with just about every layer, but especially the last two. And this one is better than the last one because it doesn't have all the bumps in it, basically, so it's smoother. And the last one had more of a gold dust. This one has more of a gold metallic. So isn't that cool? Like how much reflection comes from the sunlight. So that's neat. And this should be all done, and I shouldn't need to do any sanding or anything. It just needs to cure for a while and not have anything put on top of it. And I did a pretty good job of policing all the drips. I'm not sure if I got any on the new stained floor, but pretty good. All right, so that's gonna do it for this preseason episode. The last 2-week project video for the next 24 weeks, if all goes to plan. There'll be a project video every Saturday for the next 24 weeks, with the first one next week being episode 1 of season 13. So I'm happy with how this turned out. Some of the lower layers shine through. Some of it was kind of unnecessary amounts of work. But I learned a lot about this epoxy stuff, doing it for the second time, and using the dyes and the metallic and the dust glitter stuff from Stone Coat Countertop. Did my sugi for the first time with the tung oil. I'm happy with how that turned out, but you can't see it right now because a lot of it's covered. Did the painting upstairs, the plumbing upstairs and downstairs, and then the slabs down there for the entryway, as well as half of the siding. And that is a full 2 weeks. And so even though the MollyStarkTower is secured for May, move-in date isn't till the second week of May. So I think I'll be focusing on this as much as possible, doing as many finishes as possible for the next week or two. Finishing the siding on the outside and getting this all done. Oh yeah, I didn't even show you this. So this was that one piece of extra particle board. I did this kind of thing with my excess epoxy. And then this one looks really ugly, but this is just the underside. So I like the overside of this, but the underside was white, and it was kind of had a little messiness from the epoxy with the white. So this will just be the underside of the shelf right here. And this turned out really good. And the sides, I made them very dark, but as the epoxy from the top is overflowing the sides, it's not really, it still goes with it. It's not like the sides aren't too dark, and it kind of just accentuates it, and I like how the sides turned out and everything. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.